Hi everyone, in this video we are gonna study AC circuits from scratch. So AC stands for alternating current. So AC circuits are those circuits in which the direction of the current alternates. So let's say there is a resistance R in the circuit and there is a voltage source V, and the voltage source changes its polarity. So sometimes it's positive, negative, sometimes it's negative, positive. Similarly, the current will also move from left towards right sometimes, and sometimes it will move from right towards left. So if we draw voltage with time, so voltage is, so the maximum voltage or any peak value is denoted by naught or the dot value. So voltage is, let's say, V naught, and current will also be, in this case, something like this. Sorry. So basically the basic concept is that sometimes the current is positive, sometimes the current is negative. Negative means the opposite direction. Let's say this direction is positive, so sometimes the current will follow in the clockwise direction and sometimes in the anti-clockwise. So from here to here the current flows in clockwise direction, here it flows in anti-clockwise direction, then again current flows in clockwise direction. So that's why we call this circuits as alternating current, because the direction alternates between clockwise and anti-clockwise. In alternating current we come across three different types of values. One is instantaneous, one is peak, and one is RMS or we can say average values. So instantaneous values, let's say we have some circuit like this where we have a resistance R and voltage is V is equal to V naught sine omega t. Since the maximum value of voltage is V naught, because sine omega t is maximum value is 1, so the peak value for voltage is V naught. Instantaneous value is, at any given time the value of voltage is V naught sine omega t. So we can put different values of t here and get instantaneous value. And something called as RMS value or average value, which we will calculate, and this value will come out to be V naught by root 2. So this is also denoted by VRMS. So if we know peak value, we can calculate RMS by simply dividing it by root 2. Similarly, we will find the current in this circuit, and which would be some peak value I naught, and so we will have to find peak value I naught and some, so I would be also be so the instantaneous value would be sine of omega t plus phi, and in this case, since we only have resistance, the phi would be 0, so current would be I naught sine omega t, and again the average value of current or IRMS will be I naught by root 2. So I'm just giving you an idea that we have to keep three things in mind while dealing with AC circuits. What is the peak value, what is the instantaneous value, and what is the RMS value of the voltages and currents. And if it is if we only have like resistance in the circuit, I would be simply I naught sine of omega t. So we will derive these I naught values from V naught values for different cases, when we have resistance, when we have capacitance, and when we have inductance in the circuit. So let's try to see all three cases. So we will see all three cases here. So let's say we have only resistance in the circuit. So for the instantaneous values, we can simply use Ohm's law. At any instant, Ohm's law is valid. Ohm's law is valid for every instant. In the circuit. And for the other things, we'll see how we can calculate those using instantaneous values. So this is the circuit. We have a resistance of R and we have a voltage of V0 sin omega t. So instantaneous current would be, so let's say this is given, so we can find that RMS value which we will calculate, which we will prove later, would be simply V0 by root 2, since it only depends on the peak value, and peak value is V0. So this is peak, this is RMS, this is instantaneous. Now for the current, we can calculate instantaneous current using instantaneous voltage. So as I mentioned that for the current, Ohm's law would be valid. So instantaneous current would be V0 sin omega t, instantaneous voltage by resistance. So which would be V0 by R sin omega t. So now we can see that the peak value of current is this thing, V0 by R, because the maximum value sin omega t can take, the magnitude of the maximum magnitude of sin omega t is 1. So peak value I0, so we denote peak value by a naught sign. So peak value I0 is V0 by R, and RMS value is I0 by root 2, which is equal to V0 by root 2R. So this is RMS value, this is peak value. So now let's try to first understand that what do we mean by RMS value or the average value, or we can call it as average value. So RMS value means that, let's say if there was a constant voltage source of V0 like this with the resistance R, and then we have an AC voltage source whose value keeps on changing with time as V0 sin omega t, and peak value as V0 with resistance R. So now we have to calculate what should be the current in this constant voltage circuit, what should be the current I, such that the power dissipated in both the circuits, in the left circuit and in the right circuit, is same. So we know that the average power dissipated in the right circuit and the left circuit should be same, not the instantaneous power, because instantaneous power can't be same, because power keeps on changing here in the right circuit. For the left circuit it's constant, but for the right circuit it keeps on changing. So what we'll do is we'll try to calculate the average power in the right hand circuit, and that should be equal to the average power of the left hand circuit. So average power, so firstly instantaneous power instantaneous would be the instantaneous current square R. Instantaneous current is simply instantaneous voltage square. So instantaneous current is simply this, instantaneous voltage by R into R. So this would be V square, V0 square by R sin square omega t. So this is instantaneous power. For average power, I use these angular brackets to denote average. We have to calculate the average value of this function, V0 square by R sin square omega t. So V0 square by R is a constant value, and we have to basically calculate the average of this function, sin square omega t. So sin square omega t function, if you know how to draw the graphs for these squared sinusoidal functions, it would come like something like this. So basically I'm drawing the graph of instantaneous power. This maximum value of this instantaneous power would be V0 square by R, and after the time period for this would be 2 pi by omega, so this would be pi by omega. So let's try to calculate the average power of this in one time period, in one cycle, which is from here to here, from 0 to 2 pi by omega. So time period is 2 pi by omega. How do you know that this completes one cycle in time period of 2 pi by omega. You can, if you have done functions in maths, you would know that the time period of a function, you know, the time period of sine t is 2 pi and time period of sine of kt is 2 pi by k. This is because now if sine of 0, so basically here sine of 0 is 0, sine of pi by 2 is 1, sine of pi is again 0, and sine of 2 pi is minus 1. Sorry, sine of pi is 0, sine of 3 pi by 2 is minus 1, and sine of 2 pi is again 0. So this is 0, this is pi by 2, this is pi, this is 3 pi by 2, and this is 2 pi. So one cycle is complete for the sinusoidal function. Here at 0 the value will be 0, at pi by 2k the value would be 1. You can try to put pi by 2k here. That's k into pi by 2k. So k cancels out, sine pi by 2 is 1. Similarly at pi by k value would be 0, at 3 pi by 2k the value would be minus 1, and at 2 pi by k the value would be 0. So after 2 pi by k the cycle for this function completes. That's why the time period, if basically graph of sine t would be something like this, sine t would be something like this. So this would be t pi, this would be pi, this would be 0, and graph of sine of kt would be something like this. So this would be 2 pi by k. Basically it would complete its cycle, this is like, and this would be pi k. It would complete its cycle earlier than the original sine function. And if we square it, this thing becomes like this, and this thing becomes like this, sine square omega t. Again it will complete one cycle in 2 pi by k. After 2 by basically if k is time, so if x-axis is time, then after 2 pi by k time it will complete and the sine will complete its one cycle. That's why time period is 2 pi by k, or in this case the time period is 2 pi by omega. So now we have to calculate the average, and average can be calculated by average of any continuous function ft can be calculated by integrating that function, so that we get this area under the curve for the time period capital T, for 0 to capital T. Capital T is 2 pi by omega, and then divided by the total time period capital T, which is 2 pi by omega. So that's the average of any continuous function. So here the average is, so for any sine square omega t function, the average is 0 to 2 pi by omega by 2 pi by omega, right? So sine square can be written as 1 minus cos 2 omega t by 2, integration of 0 to 2 pi by omega by 2 pi by omega. That's the average value of this function, which is equal to, so this integration is with respect to time dt. So half of 2 pi by omega minus half of sine of 2 omega t from 0 to 2 pi by omega by 2 pi by omega. Okay, so this becomes 0 because sine of pi is also 0 and sine of 0 is also 0. So answer comes to be half. So this is something you can remember also, which we have just proved, that for any for square of any sinusoidal function, basically average of sine square omega t is half. Average of sine square, even if you add some constant here, omega t plus phi, would also be half, because area under the curve would remain same. Sine, even if it was a cos square omega t average is also half. Similarly cos square omega t plus phi average is also half. So for any squared sinusoidal function the average value is half. So that's why the average value of power is v0 square by 2r in one time period. So average value of power in one time period is v0 square by 2r for the right hand circuit. For the left hand circuit, average value of power in one time cycle. Average value of power in one time cycle. So power here is, instantaneous power is v0 square, this is also r, so v0 square by r, and average power is in one time period is V naught square by R into time period divided by time period. So basically simply the average power is V naught square by R. Average power is V naught square by R. So we'll equate left hand side to right hand side, and we will get that so basically this would be basically we want to find, let's call this V dash. For the left hand side, let's call this V dash. So we want to find V dash such that V dash square by R, that is the average power for the left hand side circuit, should be equal to the average power of the right hand side circuit, and average power of right hand side circuit is V naught square by 2R. So RR cancels out, V dash comes to be V naught by root 2. So basically if a circuit with constant voltage has a voltage of V naught by root 2, it means the power dissipated in one complete cycle would be same. Average power dissipated would be same. And we have named this quantity as RMS, VRMS. We call it as VRMS. So this is the concept behind VRMS. Basically, VRMS simply means the amount of voltage which we can supply to a constant voltage circuit such that the average power dissipated is same, and it would be equal to V naught by root 2. So whatever the peak value of AC circuit is divided by root 2, that is the constant amount of voltage you can supply, so that average power in one cycle is same. So RMS value is nothing but you have to basically root mean square, which means you have to first square the value. RMS value of any function ft is, you have to first square the value and then take the mean and then take the root. So you have to first square the value, then take the mean and then take the root. So we know that mean of sine square omega t is 1 by 2 and then take the root. So which is basically, so V naught square sine square omega t. So first square it, V naught square sine square omega t, then take average of it, which is V naught square by 2, and then take root of it, which is V naught by root 2. That's what we call as RMS value. So that's how we derive RMS values. And you can also like kind of remember this. See a circuit with capacitor. We also call it a pure capacitive circuit, which means we only have capacitance, we don't have any inductance or a resistance. So let's say we have a capacitor of capacitance C, V naught sine omega t, and we have to find instantaneous current, because if you find instantaneous current, then finding RMS current or peak current is like a trivial thing to do. Like for any function, let's say if there is some function like a sine kx plus b, or let's say kt plus b, if we know that instantaneous value of function, peak value of that function is a, RMS value of that function is a by root 2. So peak and RMS is easy to find from instantaneous. So if you find instantaneous, you can find anything. So you are given instantaneous value of voltage, but now you have to find the instantaneous value of current. How would you do that in a pure capacitance circuit? So we know that in a pure capacitance circuit, the capacitor will accumulate some charge. Let's say that charge is Q, and the charge accumulated at any instant. So this charge accumulated would be different at different instance. At any instance, if capacitance is C, the charge accumulated at any instance would be Q is equal to CV. So here V is also instantaneous voltage, Q is also instantaneous voltage, and C is only a constant. And instantaneous current I is simply but rate of change of charge on the capacitance, so which is instantaneous. So we differentiate dq, the instantaneous charge, and we'll get instantaneous current. So this is equal to C, we'll put value of instantaneous voltage, V naught sin omega 2. So C and V naught are constant, we'll differentiate this, it will become cos of omega t into omega. So we'll put omega here. So instantaneous current we have found. So if we have found instantaneous current, we can easily find, the peak value of instantaneous current I naught is V naught C omega, which can also be written as V naught by 1 by C omega. and we call 1 by c omega as capacitance, and we denote this by xc. And you can note that the unit for xc or the capacitance is ohm. So unit for this is ohm, unit for this is also ohm, because unit of v naught by I is ohm. Anything which is like v naught by I is the unit for that is ohm. So if you have found the instantaneous current, as I said, that's the most challenging thing. Finding the peak current is trivial, which is just this value, and we can write this value as v naught by xc. And finding the RMS current is also trivial, which is just peak by root 2, basically, which is v naught by root 2 xc. So the main challenge in AC circuits is to find the instantaneous value, and from the instantaneous value of anything you can calculate RMS and peak very simply. So basically we can write this as v naught by xc cos of omega t. So interesting thing to note here is, so calculating instantaneous current was very easy if you know this relation Q is equal to CV. So the main thing to note here is that the instantaneous current is equal to v naught by xc. We can write cos omega t as sin omega t plus pi by 2, right? So this means that if the graph of voltage is something like this, v naught sin omega t, so let's say if graph of voltage is something like this is v naught peak value, then graph of current would be something like this. So so firstly the peak value is less than v naught because we are dividing v naught by xc. So let's say it's v naught by xc, which is peak value of current I naught, which we denote by I naught. And since it's omega t plus pi by 2, we shift it by pi by 2. So this is basically, this point is pi by 2. This point is pi, this point is 3 pi by 2, and this point is 2 pi. So graph would be something like this. So basically this would be minus I naught, and graph is not up to scale, so this is minus v naught. So you can see that the peak of I naught comes before the peak of v naught. I naught keep so because I naught's peak is coming before v naught, and similarly I naught's like bottom peak is also coming before v naught's bottom peak, we say that current is leading voltage by pi by 2 angle. So we say that the current is leading voltage by pi by 2 because the peak of current is coming earlier than peak of voltage. And how earlier? By an angle of pi by 2. And in drawing this diagram, I assume that omega is equal to 1. Otherwise you have to divide by 2 omega everywhere. So current is leading the voltage by pi by 2, and you can also see that the current is leading means the current's peak comes earlier by a difference of pi by 2. That's why we have added pi by 2 in the sign function of the voltage. So this is something you have to remember for a pure capacitance circuit, that the current leads the voltage by pi by 2. So if you have given So next time you don't have to like derive by differentiating, writing q and differentiating. You should just remember that, okay, we are given v naught sine omega t, the instantaneous voltage. We have to find instantaneous current. Current leads voltage by pi by 2. So let's first add pi by 2 here. Also, we know that the peak current is v naught by xc. That's it. You have to quickly find the instantaneous current like that next time. Okay, so similarly, now let's see a pure inductive circuit. Pure inductive circuit means there is only inductor there and there is no capacitor. So let's say there is an inductor whose value is L, and we are again given instantaneous voltage and we have to find instantaneous current. Again, instantaneous voltage is sine omega t, and we have to find instantaneous current, which I am denoting by value I, and we do not know the value of I in terms of t, which is instantaneous current. So the relationship between instantaneous voltage and instantaneous current is as follows: L di by dt. So to find instantaneous current, we integrate it so it should be 1 by L P by L dt. So this will give it instantaneous current, which is equal to, since L is constant, V is not constant, so we'll integrate V. Since V naught is constant, we'll take that out, and integration of sine omega t is minus cos omega t by omega. So this gives us the value of instantaneous current, and we can write this as V naught by L omega times minus cos omega t, and minus cos omega t can also be written as sine of omega t minus pi by 2, because we know that sine of omega t minus pi by 2 is equal to minus pi by 2 minus omega t, and sine of pi by 2 minus omega t is cos of omega t. So therefore minus cos omega t can be written as sine omega t minus pi by 2. Now once you have instantaneous current, you can find the peak current. Peak current is simply this, V naught by L omega. So peak current I naught is equal to V naught by L omega, and we call this L omega as inductance, which is like V naught by XL, which is denoted by XL. Okay. Yeah, so we call this L omega as inductive reactance. If I might have made same mistake before, we call this 1 upon XC as we call this XC, which is equal to 1 upon omega C. We call this as capacitive reactance. So this is just like naming thing. So yeah, so I naught peak current you can simply find by V naught by L omega, where L omega is denoted by XL, which is just a notation, and RMS current is simply I naught by root 2, which is equal to V naught by root 2 XC. Okay, and V naught by root 2 is VRMS, so IRMS is VRMS by XC. So all those things are trivial thing, right? So all those things are trivial things. So main difficulty in every question is to find the instantaneous value, and which we have already found. And similar to the previous question, we need to note that if the angle difference between so who is leading in this case. So if voltage is something like this, so this is peak voltage V naught, this is minus V naught. So here the current's peak will come after voltage peak, therefore voltage is leading. So the graph would be something like this. So current's peak will come here, so current would be go something like this. So current's positive peak, so this is current graph. Oh, this should be a bit lower than voltage graph, because this value is V naught by L omega, this is minus V naught by L omega. But the main thing is to observe the angle. So if this value is, let's say, pi by 2, again I am assuming omega to be 1, this value is pi, this value is 3 pi by 2, and this value is 2 pi. So the peak of current is coming later after the peak of voltage by an angle of pi by 2, and that's why we say that I lags voltage or V leads current. So we have seen that. So now we have to remember this, and why we have to remember this is because if we are given an instantaneous voltage, we can quickly find the instantaneous current without going through all this derivation and integration steps. So simply we have to remember that if instantaneous voltage is sin omega t, then instantaneous current is sin omega t minus pi by 2, because voltage leads current in case of inductance, and we have to find the peak value of the current, which would be simply V0 by XL. So let's summarize what we have learned so far. So in summary, is this, that given the instantaneous value of voltage V0 sin omega t, we have to find instantaneous value of current, but we have to do this of pure resistive circuit, pure capacitive circuit, and pure inductive circuit. So in pure resistive circuit, instantaneous value is simply V0 by value of resistance into sin omega t. In pure capacitive circuit, the instantaneous current would be, firstly we have to remember that for capacitor the current leads by angle pi by 2, so we add angle pi by 2, and then the peak value is V0 by XC, where XC is equal to 1 upon omega c, and simply we can find instantaneous value of current for pure inductive circuit as sine of, we know that current lags behind voltage in case of inductive circuit, so it would be sine of omega t minus pi by 2, and the peak value would be V0 by XL, where XL is equal to omega L. So you should be able to easily find instantaneous value of current for these three types of circuit if you know instantaneous value of voltage across these items, and if you remember this, then all the questions of AC circuits would become very easy, because once you find instantaneous value of voltage and instantaneous value of current, so I denote this by V, I denote this by I, everything becomes very easy. Now you can find IRMS, VRMS, I peak, V peak, anything you can find, whatever is given to you. Now let's understand some useful maths. So let's say you are given some function like 3 sin omega t plus 4 sin omega t plus pi by 2, and you have to convert this function into a form like this, a sin omega t plus phi. How would you convert this? So one of the ways is that you divide by root of 3 square plus 4 square, divide by root of 3 square plus 4 square, and then multiply by the same thing. So, and then you define it to be sine of alpha. You define this would automatically be cos of alpha, right? Because sine square alpha plus cos square alpha would be 1. So this would be sine of alpha sine omega t. Sorry, no. So basically you define this to be, yeah. So you define this to be sine alpha, you define this to be cos alpha, and you define this to be sine alpha instead. Reason I am doing this is it will be clear. So you can define any of them as to be sine alpha. So I define this to be sine alpha, and why? Because it will give me the formula like this. So this would be sine of omega t into cos alpha plus, now sine omega t plus pi by 2 is cos of omega t, cos omega t into sine alpha. So sine a cos b plus cos a sine b, which would be sine of omega t plus alpha. And this value here is 5. So answer is 5 sine of omega t plus alpha. Now the value of alpha can be, because we know sine alpha is 4 by this and cos alpha is 3 by this, so we can calculate tan alpha to be 4 by 3, which implies alpha is equal to 53 degrees. So we can write this as 5 sine of omega t plus 53 degrees. So either you can calculate this, but let's say if you have so many terms of such type, let's say you have so many terms, let's say you have something like this, you have a1 sine omega t plus b1 sine of omega t plus pi by 2 plus c1 sine of omega t minus pi by 2. You can still follow the similar procedure as before, but it will become tedious. Instead, we can use something called as phasor method. So phasor method is a hack or a trick to calculate such values in the form of a of sine of omega t plus 5. And the trick is as follows, and you can think about it why it works and why it doesn't work like intuitively, but I'm not going into why does it work, but I am going to explain how does it work in this video. So let's say you are given 3 sine omega t, the same thing, plus 4 sine of omega t plus pi by 2. So here you will choose some reference, and reference should be something which is common inside all of the angles. So the common thing inside all of the angles is omega t, right? So you choose reference and you mark that on x-axis. So this is omega t. And then what you do is you plot all of the magnitudes according to the remaining angles apart with respect to the reference. So here the remaining angle is 0 because there is nothing except omega t. So you will plot this 3 on the x-axis as a vector. So 3 is plotted on x-axis as a vector. Similarly, 4 is plotted but with an angle of plus pi by 2 from omega t. So with an angle of plus 90 degree from omega t, we plot 4. So, and then you calculate the resultant of these vectors to find the final answer. So resultant of these vectors would be, this would be the resultant, and this would be simply, the value of this would be 5, which is 3 square plus 4 square root, and this angle with respect to omega t is tan inverse of 4 by 3, which is 53 degrees. And then the final answer is simply but 5 sine of omega t plus whatever this angle is, 53 degrees, whatever the angle of resultant with omega t is. So here the angle of resultant with omega t is plus 53 degrees. We can write this as the resultant as 5 sine omega t plus 53 degrees. So let's say instead we had 3 terms. So if we had 3 terms like this, let's say we had minus 8 sine of omega t minus pi by 2. So if we had 3 terms, again we can like combine all of these into a single sine term as follows. So we'll again take omega t as reference. So 3 would be on the x-axis, again 3 would be in the x-axis, 4 would be at an angle of plus pi by 2, and oh sorry, it's not minus, let's say it's plus. It's plus. So we are adding everything. If so, let's say it's plus, and then 8 would be at angle of minus pi by 2 from omega t, so which would be minus 90 degrees. So this direction we are assuming is positive. So this 8 would be here. Then we have to calculate the net resultant of these 3 vectors. So net resultant across x-axis is 3, across y-axis is 4 in the downward direction. So the net resultant of 3 and 4 is 5, and this angle with x-axis would be 53 degrees. So sum of these 3 would be simply 5 sine omega t minus 53 degrees. So this is known as phasor method, and it is used to add terms like a1 sine omega t plus phi 1 plus a2 sine omega t plus phi 2 plus a3 sine omega t plus phi 3 and so on. So why are we learning this? Because this would be used in the next kind of circuits which we are going to study. So let's say we have studied pure resistive, pure capacitive, pure inductive circuit. Now let's say we have both resistance and capacitance in the circuit. So we have resistance R and we have a capacitance C. So let's say instantaneous voltage across resistance R is VR, instantaneous voltage across capacitance C is VC. And by KVL we know that V is equal to VR plus VC. And VR and VC can both be positive and negative at any instant. So let's go reverse in this question because that would be easier thing to do. So let's say that you are given instantaneous current I naught sine omega t, and you have to find instantaneous voltage. So for the resistance R, you can find instantaneous voltage VR as instantaneous current I naught sine omega t into value of resistance, which is R, which is simply I naught R sine omega t. So but for the capacitance, so instantaneous voltage across capacitance, if you remember that instantaneous voltage across capacitance, so in capacitance, if you remember, here, if you remember that current leads voltage, which means voltage lags behind current, right? So since voltage lags behind current, so firstly we have to write sine of omega t minus pi by 2, because in capacitance voltage lags behind current. Okay, now we know that the peak value would be simply I naught into x of c. So this would be equal to I naught xc sine of omega t minus pi by 2. This would be your Vc. Now instantaneous voltage V is equal to simply VR plus Vc, and you can add these both, I naught R sine omega t plus I naught xc sine of omega t minus pi by 2. And now you can see that we can calculate instantaneous voltage using phasor method. So on the x-axis, let the reference is omega t. So this I naught R would be plotted on x-axis as follows. So this is I naught R. This I naught xc would be plotted on the negative y-axis because it has angle of minus pi by 2. So this would be I naught xc. This would be the resultant. The value of resultant would be I naught R square plus I naught square xc square. This is the value of resultant, which would be I naught into root of R square plus xc square. And this angle phi made by resultant is phi is equal to tan inverse I naught xc by I naught R, which is equal to tan inverse xc by R. So basically the resultant would be peak value V naught sine omega t plus phi, where peak value V naught is the value of the resultant, this I naught R square plus root x square, and this phi would be tan inverse xc by R. Similarly, now let's see, you have a resistance and an inductor. So let's say you have resistance R, you have an inductor of value L, and you have to find instantaneous voltage V, and you are given instantaneous current I naught sine omega t. I reverse the objective because it's easier to find instantaneous voltage V from instantaneous current I, but we can do other way also, and we may see some examples in future like that. So this is just to explain. So basically we know that, so instantaneous voltage across resistance, let be VR, instantaneous voltage across inductance be VL. So instantaneous voltage V can be found by finding VR and VL, and VR is simply, so in resistance the current and voltage are in the same phase, no one leads anything, no one lags anything, so sin omega t would simply remain sin omega t, but the magnitude would become I naught into R, the peak value would become I naught into R. In inductance, so inductance, who leads whom? So inductance, if you remember, the voltage leads current, so this would be sine of omega t plus pi by 2, and magnitude would be I naught into x of, peak value would be I naught into x of L. So net resultant would be V, because V is equal to VR plus VL. So we can add these terms using phasor method. So basically I naught XL would be on the y axis because it has an angle of plus pi by 2 with respect to omega t, and I naught R would be on the x axis. So resultant would be I naught root XL square plus R square with an angle of phi, which is equal to tan inverse XL by R. So V would be equal to I naught root of XL square plus R square. So this is peak value, which you can also call as V naught sine of omega t plus phi, where phi is this angle. So this is resistance and inductor, and now let's see if we have all three: resistance, inductor and capacitor. So if you have followed till now, this all three case is also very simple. You have R, you have C, you have L. Okay, and you have to find again instantaneous voltage, which you don't know, but you know the instantaneous current, which is I naught sine omega t. So we'll assume instantaneous voltage is VL, instantaneous voltage is VR, and instantaneous voltage is VC, instantaneous voltage is VL. So V would be simply VR plus VC plus VL. This becomes very easy now, right? VR is simply I naught R sine omega t, right? VC is I naught into XC, that's the peak value, into sine of omega t minus pi by 2. And V of L is I naught into XL sine of omega t plus pi by 2. So easiest thing to remember is that in inductance voltage is ahead of current. So if current is at omega t, voltage would be ahead of current always, and in capacitance voltage would be behind the current. So voltage of L would be behind voltage of would be in front of voltage of R, and voltage of R would be in front of voltage of C, and voltage of R would be always in same phase as the current. So this is something you have to remember. You can remember it by looking that C comes before L and R is always in the between. So anyway, you can remember, you can find your own ways. So now we have to add these to find the instantaneous voltage, the net instantaneous voltage. We have to find VR, VC plus VL. We can use phasor method. So I naught R would be in the x-axis, I naught XC would be in the negative y-axis because it's at minus pi by 2, and I naught XL would be in positive x-axis because it's plus pi by 2. And so the net resultant, so let's assume that XL is greater than XC. So if XL is greater than XC, we are assuming that XL is greater than XC. That means that the net resultant of y-axis would be upwards, which would be equal to I naught into XL minus XC. Otherwise, it would be downwards. So if XL is greater than XC, which means that the resultant is net upwards. So we can say that overall the circuit is inductive, because inductive factor is dominating. XL is greater than XC, overall circuit is inductive. And we can also see that whenever the circuit is inductive, the voltage would be ahead of current. So this current is on x-axis, right? The current is at angle of omega t. So the angle of voltage would be more than angle of current, because the net resultant would be something like this. So angle of voltage would be omega t plus phi. Angle of instantaneous voltage is omega t plus phi. And the magnitude, the peak value of instantaneous voltage would be V naught, and V naught is simply resultant of this, which is I naught times root of R square plus XL minus XC whole square, and we have to take the root of the complete thing. So the instantaneous voltage is sine of omega t plus phi into V naught, where V naught is this thing and phi is tan inverse XL minus XC by R, which you can see from this diagram here. So similarly, if you assume that XC was greater than XL, then the resultant diagram would become like this. This would be I naught into XC minus XL. We'll say that the net circuit is capacitive because capacitance is more than like capacitive reactance is more than inductive reactance, and this would be I naught R. Resultant would be in this direction. This would be angle phi. Again, sine of it would become sine of omega t minus phi in this case, and V naught would be same, xc minus xl whole square plus r square into root. I naught would be common, so this would be equal to V naught. Phi would be equal to tan inverse xc minus xl by r. So these two cases are obvious, but if both xl is equal to xc, so it becomes pure resistive. It kind of becomes pure resistive circuit, because you can see if xl is xc, y components cancel out, only only the x component remain. So V is equal to V naught sine omega t. That's it. V naught would be simply I naught r, because y components cancel out. The resultant is simply I naught r, and phi is also 0 because V is in the direction of the resultant, which is omega t. So this is our reference omega t. So the frequency at which xc is equal to xl, we can calculate this by using the values of xc and xl. So omega comes to be 1 upon root LC. So this is the frequency at which the circuit becomes in resonance. We call, when xl is equal to xc, we call this as resonance condition. We call this as resonance condition because in this case our V naught would be minimum and I naught would be maximum. So we can see that we have seen through examples that in general case the peak values of I naught and V naught are I naught is equal to V naught upon root of xl minus xc whole square plus r square. And if xl is equal to xc, this means that denominator, one of the terms of denominator goes away. This becomes 0, which means I naught increases. I naught becomes maximum. So that's why we call it as resonance condition. And we can see that how I naught, the peak value of the current, changes if we change the value of frequency omega. So at omega is equal to 1 upon root LC. So this is omega. So this is the resonance frequency, which is 1 upon root LC. So here, so let's say we have a circuit like this, and this value is current instantaneous. This value is peak current I naught. So the peak current would be maximum at this frequency, and in this area when the frequency increases, if W increases, which means, so x is equal to 1 upon omega c, this would decrease, and xl is equal to omega l, this would increase. So it would become inductive. The circuit would become inductive because xl would dominate xc. If W decreases, it would become capacitive, and at W is equal to 1 upon root LC, it would be in resonance. So I hope all the basic concepts of AC circuits are clear to you now, and in the next video we will see some questions based on what we have learned in this video. If you do not understand anything, pause the video, take your time and understand the material before you move into the next video. If you like the video, stay tuned and subscribe. Bye.